Welcome back to Stationeers Europa. I'm Aleki, and in the last episode, we hit two important milestones. We enclosed the base and built and used the shower. Now, it's time to turn our eyes to a method to refilling our water bottles and producing food. But before we can go into producing food, we need a space that is suitable for potatoes. The Brutal Starter Kit gave me 3 potato seeds, so I need an environment that has a little bit of carbon dioxide, not a problem to get, but it needs to be between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius ideally, and at the worst, it needs to be no colder than 0 and no hotter than 50. Since I don't want to go about building a whole another building right now, I'm going to warm up this room that we set up to also serve as a place for the plants. For that, I am planning to use the gases that I captured from the furnace, filter out the hot carbon dioxide. It's very hot, it's 600 and something degrees Celsius, and then I figure adding some of that into the atmosphere in the room is going to help bring the temperature up. So for that, I'm planning to build a atmospheric filter or filtration system, a tank to store the carbon dioxide, and an active vent along with the insulated piping needed. So let's get started on that. First off, I'm gonna remove this arc furnace because now that I am building a pleasant atmosphere in here, I do not want to pollute it by smelting anything in this room. So that will go outside and eventually be set up there in case we ever need it. Okay. So I'm looking for the atmospherics kit. We'll make one of those. Then I'm gonna need some carbon dioxide filters and some insulated piping. Now that the components are ready, we can start building. I'm going to put an active vent over here, which I'm going to use to pull in carbon dioxide and control how much of it comes in. I'm going to do this manually because I expect to only need to heat up the base once. And I can wire that into the outside wire that's going over to the furnace system. Yep, let's go outside and build the rest of the stuff. Last time I started building something out here, envisioning using a heat exchanger, but then realized that if I separate the carbon dioxide, I can just pull that in directly rather than trying to exchange heat from the gases into the oxygen and build a much more complicated system. Oh, that's the furnace, not the filtration unit. That can go over here for now. Yep, the actual filtration unit. And that needs a regular pipe, followed by a screwdriver and the electric cables. And there it is, fully built filtration unit. I'm gonna add the carbon dioxide filter. I only made one for now, I'll have to make more of them. But I still need to make some more of those for the suit as well. And we can start connecting the insulated piping to the tank holding the hot gases. The input is over on this end, then on the side we have the output for the unfilter, so anything that doesn't match carbon dioxide is going to get pushed out the side. And I want to connect that back into the tank because I don't want to I don't want to send those into the atmosphere and lose the heat, but I also don't have another storage tank for them. So we're just gonna recycle. That will make the filtration less efficient, but it'll do for now. My battery is critical, so I'm gonna grab a new one from inside. Oh, the far end of the filtration unit is where the filtered gas, in this case the carbon dioxide, comes out. So for that, I'm gonna use these two tanks that I had built for the what I intended to be the heat exchanger system. We use the larger version of the inline tank. Oh, I put that wrong, but let's connect the pipe first. Then it's going to be easier to see where I'm placing it. And I may as well turn off that ice crusher. The active vent, I can put an elbow, and then I'm going to take advantage of these long pieces of pipe that were added in the terrain update to quickly connect without adding too many extra items into the world. That's very convenient. Actually, I forgot that I wanted a second tank. Actually, no, I do have both tanks. Okay, so that is connected. Now this thing needs power. And the active vent also needs to be connected into the power line. I'll probably want to automate this at some point, so we'll connect the data port preemptively. And there it is. Carbon dioxide is feeding into these pipes. And it'll be ready to pull into the base. I do need to let this run for a while. There's a good bit that needs to be filtered. So we've got about 38% of all the gases that we collected. It'll take a bit to get a decent quantity in there. While that is working away, let's get back inside and take a look at the next thing that we need to tackle. And that is setting up the watering system and the trays where the potatoes are going to grow once we heat up the environment. So for that, I'm going to make 3 hydroponic trays, because I have 3 seeds. And while I still have 3 pieces of insulated liquid pipe, I'm gonna need more than that. So for that, I need to add a little bit of steel from our reserves and get those made. The hydroponic trays I'm gonna put here by this window. I don't expect to get too much light from the sun on Europa, so I'm also planning on having a grow light that's gonna provide them with the light they need. Okay, let's lay down some of these pipes. Over here on the wall by the shower, I'm eventually planning to put a water bottle filler. So I'm gonna place a T there preemptively. I'm going to use these 3 long pipes to connect across the floor. This bit here is a little bit too short for those, so I'm just gonna do regular pipe segments. Okay, let's make one more. 10 of them should be enough to connect into the water network. Oh, I actually had 3 more there. Okay, 13 is plenty. So, back outside. And of course, I want to check how the pressure in the carbon dioxide filtration system is doing, because I don't want to pop these pipes. Okay, we're only at 2.4 megapascals. It is taking a bit to pull that carbon dioxide out. Okay, here we can do a 5 long segment of pipe and then connect this in here. So on the watering side, the system is ready to grow potatoes. We just need to bring the temperature to a suitable level. Since I'm out here and I have extra piping, I'm also going to set up the piping for the water bottle filler. Wiring for it, however, I think I'll run it inside. Okay, in the base the pressure right now is 38 kilopascals. For breathing we only need 20 kilopascals of oxygen as far as partial pressure, so I'm gonna pump some more of the atmosphere in here out of the base. Less amount of oxygen means that we're gonna need a smaller amount of carbon dioxide to heat it up to where we want. Okay, now we're down to 25 kilopascals of oxygen. Should be a bit better. So, let's release some of the scorching hot carbon dioxide. See where we get to with it. And I made a mistake. I left these ices in the locker. These are gonna start melting. Thankfully they did not melt yet. The quick pulses of very hot carbon dioxide did not reach the locker. So we still have only carbon dioxide and oxygen in here. But this could have been quite bad, because volatiles and oxygen and potentially hot carbon dioxide could lead to an explosion. Looks like we're just borderline on 0 Celsius. And with a little bit more carbon dioxide, we're at 3 Celsius. That means this is a livable atmosphere. 12% carbon dioxide. There's no such thing as carbon dioxide toxicity in Stationeers. So long as there's enough oxygen equivalent to 20 kilopascals of partial oxygen pressure, Stationeer is going to be good. Of course, you can't have volatiles, pollutants, other stuff like that, which is poisonous, but carbon dioxide is not a problem. So now I can actually open my helmet in here and have a drink. And a bite to eat. Bringing in a little bit more carbon dioxide because, like I was saying, potatoes like the temperature between 20 and 30. So we want to get in that range. Since there's no heat loss through windows, unless I'm pulling in some cold outside air or have some kind of accident, the temperature inside the base is not going to get colder. We're not losing heat to the environment. All the pipes I'm using are insulated. So what's going to happen is the base is actually going to slowly heat up because we are receiving heat from the sun through the windows, but we're not losing any heat. So starting at 23 Celsius is just fine. It will get hotter from here, and eventually I'm gonna need to bring in cold oxygen to balance out the heat from the sun. But this means we can plant the seeds. And I'm gonna take the risky approach here and plant all 3. Now, I need to be careful to not make any mistakes and let cold or hot temperatures happen in here. As I was mentioning earlier, the potatoes need light, and with the weak sun on Europa, I'm not feeling confident that the sun's gonna feed them, so I want it grow light. For that, I need electrum and copper. Thankfully, I've already made some electrum before, and looks like we are almost out of copper, but I can pull some out from the other machines. I was also talking about refilling our water bottles, so let's make a water bottle filler. The filler is going to go here on the window right by the shower, and it also needs power. For the light, I'm gonna need some power that goes up to the ceiling. So I am gonna relocate the stacker slightly and run the cable where it used to be. What's a good place for the stacker? Actually, if I put it there, things coming out of the electronics printer might just jump in it unintentionally. Maybe we'll put it here for the moment. I'm sure I'm gonna want to move it more out of the way, but that may be something to do when the base gets bigger. Stacker is connected again. The wiring for the light is connected. And this can come on up to the ceiling. Okay, let's see how the light looks. So you put it this way, the power port is going to be on the left. Less cable needed to connect it. There it is. We've got happy potatoes that are thriving. My air tank is low, so I'm gonna swap it for one that I filled earlier using the airlock, which is almost completely oxygen. Now I've got a few of these tanks that are almost empty, but mostly oxygen. I've got one that is mostly carbon dioxide. This is the former waste tank. So the waste tank, what I'm going to do is go into the airlock, push all the gas from here into the base, and open up the tank. This will empty it quite well. And I do want that carbon dioxide from it going in there to feed the plants. So one empty canister can go in that tank holder, in the canister holder. This one, nearly empty oxygen one, can go there. And I have another one that is, again, almost empty. Now I'm going to take advantage of the daylight and go mining. We need copper, and I'm also hoping to find some nickel so we can get into the Constantan and Invar game. The sun has set and I am back at base. Unfortunately, I did not find any nickel, but I did find a fair amount of other materials. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go mining again tomorrow, but for now I need to take a little break at the base. The plants need a certain amount of light and darkness each day, and since I don't have automation to control that, I'm gonna manually turn off the light. Check the Stationpedia. For potatoes, I believe that is... for potatoes, that should be 5 minutes of daylight and 3 minutes of darkness. Let's see. Light per day, 5 minutes. Darkness per day, 3 minutes, 20 seconds. So it needs that amount within a day. And it has some tolerance for going over that. Here we have time until light damage, 1 hour, so they could go up to 1 hour before they start taking damage from the light, 1 hour until they take darkness damage. But cycling it is going to give us the best growth rate. And they are indeed thriving. Of course, right now they are on a little pause since we are letting them rest in darkness. What I want to do, meanwhile, is create a locker for the ores outside. And perhaps a few steel frames to expand the porch a little bit. I made 6 frames since I had 6 steel sheets sitting around. So go outside and expand this platform a little bit. I'm not using the flattening mode right now because I also need to dig upwards into this hill. So I find it easier to just eyeball the flatness. Since I'm gonna be framing anyway, it doesn't matter too much that it's perfectly flat. Okay, now that we have a little bit more space here, we can install a large locker. And this one I'm gonna use to store the ores until we're ready to smelt. I like to do another mining trip before I start smelting, just to get it all done in one batch. Okay, lots of inventory space now. So I'm gonna go back in, swap my battery, empty my waste tank, and I'm gonna be leaving the light on for the plants again. Hoping that 3 minutes have passed. And off of mining we go. And as luck would have it, nickel is right here, right below the base. All this time it was waiting for me a few feet from our door. Okay, let's get this mined, and still gonna mine up a full load of other things too, take advantage of the daylight. And it is dark again. But the grow light back at base serves as a nice visual beacon for the return trip. Not that I went very far this time. Along with that 200 plus pieces of nickel, I picked up more copper, more iron, a little bit of gold, coal, ices. But the highlight is that now we can make Constantan and Invar. This filter should have nothing left to filter. Let's stash the ores into the locker as much as possible for the moment. And then hop inside, make sure that we turn off the light. And I want to take stock as to what I have of various materials to know how much steel versus iron I want to smelt and things like that. Okay, light off, let the plants rest. They are getting quite big. In the materials locker, I have about 110 grams of iron, 50 of gold, some lead, electrum, and solder. So definitely want to make steel as well. I need iron. I don't need iron as much as I need steel at the moment. So the priorities are going to be Invar, Constantan, and steel. Along with, of course, smelting the copper, the gold, and all that. Okay, I'm going to start with 12 volatiles and 6 oxyite. That's gonna get a nicely pressured furnace and hot as well. So the first thing on the menu is gonna be doing copper plus nickel, which gives me Constantan. This one requires over 20 megapascals. That's almost there. Yep, just a little bit short. Okay, then I am gonna add a little bit more fuel. And there it is, Constantan. And since we have so much nickel, I'd like to do a second batch. Now it's time for Invar. That one is nickel plus iron. So I'm going to be using all the remaining nickel, well, all the entire stacks of nickel. I'm just going to do 2 batches, ideally, so that I don't have to do so much bar splitting. Okay, and this needs to be below 20 megapascals. So I'm going to pump some into the tank. It's very nice and hot. That volume pump will drop the pressure quite quickly. And there we go, Invar.
Temperature low.
And I ran out of soot battery.
Oxygen low. Temperature low.
Okay, let's do one more batch. And there it is, 200 grams of each of those. Now it's time for some steel. This one we've made before, 3-to-1 iron to coal. And there's 200 grams of steel. Now I'm just going to do the other materials. I'm going to start with silicon, since that has a high smelting point. Then copper and gold are not as picky. Look at that beautiful pile of ingots. Everything is smelted, and I need to take care of drinking, fresh battery, emptying the furnace and all that. But I'll do that in between episodes. For now, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time, where we will probably get to eat potatoes and put all these metals to good use on creating some quality of life improvements. For now, Aleki out.